Sometimes the things that change our creativity the most aren't these big sweeping changes and habits. They're the tiny little rituals that we tuck into our everyday. Things like a candle that you light just before creating or sitting down to work on your project. On that note, I'm about to start working on a new book and I'm so excited. I'm like buzzing all the time. At some point recently, I shared a couple of notebooks and I was like, hey guys, what do you prefer? Do you prefer this one or that one? Which one do you like best? And all of you voted for the same one that I like, which is this one. I'm so excited, so excited. But also, because it's a new project and it's the start of the spring and this new creative season for me, I have my new candle that I'm going to be working on that project, which it's just literally titled New Chapter. Found it in a little shop in Budapest, and it smells like grapefruit, jasmine, and woods, which, but things like this, it's these little shifts that make your day and boost your creativity. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about micro rituals. It's things like a walk that you take without your phone, or a playlist that instantly makes your brain know that it's time to work. So today I'm going to be sharing 10 micro rituals that you can add to your seasonal menus. The ones we made a couple of weeks back. And these are small practices that are just going to boost your creativity without overwhelming your day. These are rituals that you can use day to day. You can slip into a new one on a Monday, then change it on a Tuesday and get a new one on a Wednesday. You don't have to stick to the same ones, but you can experiment. And these aren't the same as the bigger seasonal rhythms that we've been talking about. These are just little micro rituals that you can add for where you're at with your creativity. And today we're gonna do that while I make hot cocoa. So I'm gonna take you with me because making hot chocolate is one of my favorite autumn seasonal calendar autumn micro rituals, and it's also one of my favorite ways to know that it's time to get really cozy and intimate. And that's kind of what I want this chat to feel like. So let's go. And one of the things I forgot to mention is this week is my last week in the Seasons of Intention series for September, where we've been diving into everything about creative seasonal living and how you know which season you're in, how you make the most of the season and make the most of your creative energy, when you should rest and when you should push, and things like that. So if you're interested in watching those, if you somehow stumbled across this one first, I'm gonna link it up here. I hope it's this side. I'm really bad with the left and right. But anyway, today we're just zooming in on the tiniest little habits that can help make a difference. These are the tiny little building blocks that can anchor your creative everyday life. Anyway, back to the point. When I say micro rituals, I'm not talking about anything super complicated. I'm talking about small everyday things that you can add to your days that will tell your brain, that's it, now we're starting. This is the kind of energy that I'm gonna be into. Let's see, what mug am I in the mug zone for? Groot. I'm definitely in Groot energy. Psychologists like Charles Duhigg, who I mentioned a few weeks ago, call this the cue routine reward loop. Basically, a cue sparks the behavior and then your brain starts anticipating the reward. So over time, the cue, like lighting a candle or putting on a certain playlist, creates a certain framework for your brain to just hop into creativity. There's also evidence from neuroscience that adding a small ritual before a task lowers your performance anxiety and increases your confidence. So just think of, for example, tennis players who bounce the ball in the exact same way before serving every single time. Let's get the chocolate. I would like, there's this place in Scotland which has the best well, there are two places that have amazing hot chocolate. One is in Scotland and it's called Knops. They have like 100 different kinds of chocolate. This is not sponsored. I wish it was. I drink way too much hot chocolate. So Knops, if you're interested, reach out. But anyway, they have amazing hot chocolate. And then there's another place called Cocoba that I found outside of London, and it's also super worth it. It's debatable which of these two are my favorites. But today we're going to have Knops expertly crafted chocolate drink with extra dark chocolate flakes, 54%. Let me bring it up to you. Here we go, 54%. Knops, oop, there we go. Knops, extra dark, hot chocolate. Yay! All right. We were talking about athletes and their little micro rituals. So micro rituals basically aren't fluff. They are practical little cues that help your brain enter the right state faster. Okay, I'm checking my notes because I have notes on my laptop right here. That is human, that's authentic, I guess, whatever. The first kind of micro ritual we're gonna talk about are spark rituals. These help you start. They help you when you kick off. They're perfect for creative spring energy, which is totally where I'm at right now, and I'm making the most of every single one of these. And they're great for those mornings when just getting going feels a bit like climbing a mountain and you need something to just spark you into the right state of mind. So the first kind of ritual, which is perfect for these spring mornings, is having some physical cues. It's things like lighting a candle, or switching on a specific lamp. You know, physical cues mark the beginning. And they can also include things like a door sign that says, hey, I'm writing, which I actually have. Or putting on a specific clothing like we talked about in the tips to get you unstuck video. Don't know if this is even visible, but there you go. Hot cocoa flakes. They're yummy. Okay. Things like, you know, having a specific piece of clothing you put on help you because you feel like you're dressing up for a date, but it's a date with your creativity. I do something really, really silly. I sometimes put on perfume before writing, even if I'm just in my pajamas. My brain thinks we're going somewhere important. The second kind of cue that helps you get into your spring energy are sound cues. Things like playing a specific playlist or having a song on repeat or even ambient noise. Research shows that music can trigger context-dependent memory, so meaning your brain associates the sound with the act of being in creative flow. Sometimes I swap my playlists based on what I'm creating. And I'm not just talking about going from calm piano music for creative winter to jazz for creative spring. Sometimes it's wildly specific, like Enchanted Forest cottagecore for this week's plot, or murderous witch queen vibes when I'm writing for a morally grey point of view. It sounds ridiculous, but my brain loves the soundtrack. What makes this a micro ritual is the habit of pushing play. Switching from silence to these playlists tells my brain it's time to get into a different mode. The third micro ritual is to keep curiosity notes, aka your brain dump zone. Keep a small notepad or a digital list just for stray ideas. Jotting things before you start clears your mental clutter and primes you for curiosity. And a fourth is going on a mini walk. A 5 to 10 minute walk with no phone. Stanford research shows that walking boosts divergent thinking by up to 60%. So a little walk could be a perfect way to start your creative session. So we've got hot cocoa. Next, we have the second set of rituals to talk about. And these are things you do once you're already in motion that can help you stop tipping over into burnout. These are what I call sustaining rituals, and they give your creativity some structure and stamina. We're gonna take you back to my office or my studio. I swear, I always feel that walking with hot chocolate and either my phone or my laptop is just a disaster waiting to happen. And I had mentioned having a little sign for your door that says that you're writing. That's mine. Yeah, hang it outside just to let my partner know, hey, do not disturb, please, unless like someone's on fire. Someone, not something, someone. Anyway, back to the desk. So there are 3 sustaining rituals, and sustaining rituals are the ones that you do once you've started creating, so they can help you keep going and sustain you without burning you out. They'll help you save and protect your energy so that you can just keep going for longer. The first one is having a time box cue. This is something like a Pomodoro timer where you confine your creative time in some way, whether that's just a visible clock or a timer on your phone, or something like the Forest app, which I've loved, I've used for years. Parkinson's law says that work will expand to fill the time that you've given to it. And boundaries basically shrink all that creative sprawl that we can experience, especially when we're in a super addicted to our creativity kind of state. The second micro ritual that I love and find really helps with keeping my energy flowing is having a mid-session pause. Ultradian rhythm research shows that our brains naturally dip every 90 minutes or so. So having all these micro breaks can keep your brain really sharp and engaged. For me, this usually looks like standing up, stretching, and cuddling up with a dog. Or more realistically, playing fetch with the dog up and down the hallway for a little bit. It's fun. You can do whatever you need to break, whether that's just looking away from the screen for a little bit, or something a bit more engaging and active. The last, but not least, sustaining ritual is having a progress marker. At the end of each session, note where you've left off, whether that's a sentence, a scribbled arrow, a sticky note. You know, Hemingway would famously stop mid-sentence so that he'd know exactly where to pick up from the next day. That was sustaining his creativity and just kept him going. The last set are reset rituals, the ones that help you bring closure and signal it's time for rest. These are perfect for creative winter sessions, or honestly, just the end of any work session. The first of these reset rituals is the end of day clear up. You know, close the notebook you're working on, put away your laptop, clear off your desk, maybe wipe the surface, and then just focus on how the physical closure gives your brain a minute to say, okay, that's it, I'm done for today. I can come back to it tomorrow. The second reset ritual is to keep a gratitude line, not a list, nothing too elaborate, just write down one line of something that you're grateful for about the work you're doing on the project. This gratitude and this focus on the positive helps your brain feel a lot of warmth and love for the thing you're doing. The last reset ritual, which is our 10th micro ritual for the day, is having a seasonal anchor. This is something that you swap from season to season, whether it's your mug or your candle, it depends on your creative season. And that just anchors you into the kind of thinking that you're going to be doing that day. These little swaps just keep your routines feeling alive and not stagnant in any way. Here's the most important part. You don't need all 10. You don't need to ritualize your entire life. You just need 5 seconds and maybe a candle. Think of these like the side dishes of the seasonal menu that we created a few weeks ago, which I'll link up here in case you missed that. These are just a little thing that adds a bit of flavor to your season and helps either spark, sustain, or reset your creativity for the day. That's enough, and you can just swap them out every time that they feel like they don't go well with the main dish that you've chosen for that day or for that season. Just feel free to keep swapping them and choosing the ones that work for you in that moment. Because intentional living isn't about endless routines. It's about creating a few tiny consistent practices that ground you in the moment and help you feel more anchored, more creative, and more calm. So that's it. That's it for today. So here's my invitation. Choose one micro ritual and try it. Try it this week. And if you do, I would love for you to tell me about it. Let me know how it worked for you. Which ritual you chose, if it was something that I suggested on the list or something you came up with all on your own. Let me know. And I'd love to see how these micro rituals are helping transform your creativity. If this video resonated, or you like the vibe, the craziness, the little bit of whatever, chaos, subscribe, stick around. This is basically what I do here. I love helping creative people on their journey, overcoming blocks and obstacles, and I share my own creative journey and the ways that I feel others can imbue a little bit more creativity and intentionality into their lives. So until next time, I hope your rituals are tiny but transformative.